Hello everyone, this is Professor Valdez Gant, and this is a recording for the Math 1342 orientation, elementary statistics, and I am making this recording in December of 2017, and this will apply for any of my spring, fall, summer, as well as winter semester courses. They're pretty much the same. The only thing that's really different is the time frames as far as when due dates are for assignments. So my goal here is to make sure that you get familiar with what the My TCC Blackboard setup looks like, as well as highlighting some of the major and important things that you need to know to be able to be successful in the course. And I also want to briefly go over my math lab / my stat lab to show you how to access that, where your information is to get you registered, and as well as to give you some tips on how to properly use the My Stat Lab and My Math Lab so that you make sure that you're learning and not just copying stuff whenever you're trying to do the work for these assignments. So to go ahead and get started here, I'm just going to go ahead and log in to my.tccd.edu. So I'll go ahead here and just type in my.tccd.edu, and you notice my username is just first name dot last name. Your username may be different than mine, but whatever your advisor or registrar gave you when you first signed up for classes, that is what it would need to be. And of course, your password should be set already. If your password is not set, or if you're having trouble getting into this, then you may want to call tech support, or at the very least, go ahead and do the password reset and help. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and log in. And then from here, you'll see that I have several courses listed. But the course that I'm going to go to today is this one for spring 2018. Again, all these courses are going to look the same. The only thing that's different is when they're ran and the due dates. So we'll go here. And right now I have this as not ready for viewing yet, but you all will see it as being ready for viewing by the time you do this video here. So I wanted to record this before you actually see everything. So what I'm going to do is put this in the student mode as if you'll see it. And remember that this will say site now ready for viewing. So first thing I want to go through is the announcements. Now note that for this particular course I built, this is the course ID that we're going to use in my math lab. It will not necessarily pertain to the course ID for your course, okay? So whatever this course ID says here is what it'll be to make sure that you're looking at the right thing. You can also go to where it says my stat lab, and here I'll have a link to my stat lab, as well as a registration handout on how to get your access code for our course. And the reason I'm talking about the access code is because you're not required to have a textbook for this course. There are some that are available, but as long as you get the access code, that's all you need, because with the access code, you actually have access to an electronic textbook. And it's cheaper to do it that way versus doing the textbook / access code bundle. For those of you that have the money and you really do need to have those physical pages, be my guest, and you can go to the TCC bookstore online and order that. But for those of you who are just saying, hey, I just need the basic materials, the access code is enough. So in the announcements area, in addition to some of the basics about the course, if you notice here, I'll have dates here for your midterm and final exam. And of course, these are just spanning dates. And remember, again, this is dates according to the winter semester course that I'm running now. But in future semesters, these dates will be different. Also, I have a summary here of all the major assignments, excluding homework, that's due in this course. The major things that are due in the course are quizzes, discussion board posts, midterm, and final exams. And so when we get into the syllabus part, you can see how all that's graded. But the main thing I want you to do is just have a sort of a quick snapshot of a timeline of when things are due. And so I have an announcement here for that. For the discussion board area, I have very specific criteria for you to be able to get full credit. All this stuff here is just kind of explaining what it's all about and what you need to do initially. But the main part is here. And so in short, you have 3 ways to be able to get full credit on your discussion board post. One way is to make a video of you presenting a problem and also working out the solution. Another way is to have 2 typed or handwritten solutions, and you scan those via PDF file and you post them in the discussion board area. A third way to receive extra credit is to help other people with their questions, but at the same time, you present questions that you want others to help you with. And so I'm trying to give you various ways to be able to receive full credit. For those of you that don't want to depend upon someone else to receive your full credit, then you can just post either the 1 video or your 2 worked out problems. For those of you that want to interact more with people and earn your extra credit that way, you have to do a little bit of interacting as well as, a little bit of answering questions for people, as well as you have to propose questions for other people to answer to you. So it's a 2-way street there. Okay, so that's basically how the discussion board goes. The other thing I did want to mention, I'm going to scroll back up here quickly here, is that the quizzes that you see here, you see where it says first attempt on these. And it should say first attempt on all of them, but I just did it for the first 2 so that you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. What I mean by that is for the first attempt, I have to have it recorded that you have at least tried to attempt and finish a quiz by the assigned due date that I have in your course, because that's one of the ways that I use to do attendance tracking. And attendance tracking is important because if you're in a situation where you're missing those quizzes and I go in and I do an attendance check, the problem there is that if you're missing too many times as far as unexcused absence on the attendance, in this case for the winter semester, since it's only a couple of weeks, if you're missing like one or more, if you have 1 or more absences, let's say more than 1 absence, I should say, then you're automatically dropped from the course. So it's very important that you stay on pace and that you at least attempt to do these quizzes for the first time so that you can get your attendance credit, okay, and not be dropped from the course. You can go back and do the quizzes again to improve your score. You can do it as many times as you like, but I have to have that first attempt registered so that I can make sure that you are progressing along the course the way that you should. All right, so other than that, these are instructions for how to go online to the TCC bookstore and get the access code / textbook bundle. And again, I reiterate that for the My Stat Lab, if you just want to get the access code itself, there's a link to the registration instructions. Inside of My Stat Lab, we have another software tool called Statcrunch that's used to help you do some of the basic calculations in this statistics course. And so I put some links there sort of as a way to give you a resource to help you out. You'll see that in some of the resources that I provide, I do provide some videos for some of the topics. to give you various ways of being able to work those problems. And in some of those instances, I'm using Statcrunch as well. So again, it is a tool for you to use. And I think once you start to play around with it a bit and watch those videos and links and other resources, that you'll get the hang of it. So as far as the announcements are concerned, those are the main things. Please remember that this particular announcement here, summary of due dates for this course, and it is a fluid document, so it will change as needed. Also here for the it really is not on campus testing dates, it's just testing dates. Here, this will also be fluid depending upon what's going on in the semester. The main thing I want to reiterate here is that since this is an online course, all of our exams will be taken via ProctorU. Okay, no exception to that unless you have some special accommodations that allow for you to not have a virtual proctor with you. In some instances, if you require an in-person proctor being with you, that's acceptable, but we have to do that through the Student Accessibility Resource Office or the SARS office. Okay, so normally students in that situation will have a letter of some sort from the SARS office that will say, hey, I need to provide you these accommodations by law, and so we'll handle those things case by case. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. For the instructor contact info, basically you have my email and my mobile number there, and giving this to you so that in the instance of, let's say we have some issues with ProctorU, or if you have some questions, and for whatever reason I haven't received an email from you, you can text me, and that way you can get in contact with me. So try to be as available as possible. I just ask that you don't call too late. Anytime after 8:30, just put it in email. Now, you also want to go to the Start Here folder. And so in the Start Here folder, the very first thing that you want to do when you get in here, if you haven't already done this, is to watch this video. And so this is the one that I'm actually recording for you now. I'm putting this here because I know you're going to receive it in a welcome email, but I'm putting it here again just in case you may forget something and you want to look at this video again so that you can figure out, well, hey, is there that something that he talked about at the beginning of the course? I missed that. Let me look at the video again and try to review it. So this is a good way to kind of go back and get an overview of some of the main policies in this course without you necessarily having to go read everything, okay? But you do want to read your ICR carefully and make notes so that you can make sure that you understand all the details that's going on in the course here, okay? And so we'll get to that here in a second. So you want to watch this video. You want to do your student profile survey. And this just let me know a little more about you. Of course, this date will be different depending upon what semester we're in. And here, this just gives you a basic example, well, I guess basic overview of what we're looking at now. So this portion here is going to be the my.tcc Blackboard part of it, and then we'll have the My Math Lab / My Stat Lab part later. Yeah, so here for the My TCC Blackboard classroom part is what I'm going through now, and we'll cover the My Stat Lab a little later. In the ICR syllabus and calendar folder, this is the district syllabus, and so I have to post this because every course should be adhering to what that particular syllabus says. But the one that you want to pay attention to the most here is this one, okay, your ICR. And so your instructor course requirements. So this goes into detail about the policies that I have. So when I mentioned about the quiz due dates and how they are actually attendance dates as well, That's in there. If we want to talk about the discussion board post and the requirements to receive full credit, that's in there as well. So all those important things, how we're graded, that's important as well. And it also has a course calendar here. And in the course calendar that you see here, I'm not going to open it up, but the main thing that you're going to see is the flow of how the course goes. Again, all of the due dates I put in the announcements area so that if there are changes that need to be made, we can make those changes in one place and not have to go edit and update like 3 or 4 documents to make that happen, okay? Now, I am going to open up the ICR here just to go over the grading right quick so that you can understand how you're graded in this course. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And here I'm just going to go ahead and scroll to this portion. So this stuff about the discussion board and how those points are, as well as quiz dates. And so here's the part I want to get to. So as you can see, your midterm and final exam together is worth 55% of your total grade. And I wanted to mention that because it is important that you do well on the midterm and final exam. I have practice midterm exams and practice finals available to you inside of my stat lab. I've also done a version of them and worked it out so you can see how I want your work to look as well when you submit it in to me. So again, I'm doing the best that I can to make sure that you're preparing for success in this course, but you do actually have to practice the midterm, do the practice midterm and the practice final exam to give yourself the best chance to be able to score well on these exams. The reason why the midterm and the final exam is so much is because one of the things that we have to do as educators, and this is sort of an accreditation thing, to make sure that this course can be transferred anywhere, no matter where you go, is that we have to have at least 50% of your total final course grade be in a proctored environment. So that's why the midterm and the final exam has to be there. You notice your quizzes are 20%, but they are not proctored. And that's one of the reasons why you're able to do it over and over and over again. Your discussion board posts are 5% and your homework is 15%. So you can kind of see how all that works. And I'll leave reading the rest of the ICR for you to do. But just know that if you ask me any questions about policy in the course, I would refer you to read the ICR and or watch the video first. And if it's not covered in that, then I welcome you to ask me, okay? Because, again, I don't have a problem with you emailing me or texting me to ask me those questions. But if it's something that I know that's out in the ICR or the video, I'm going to point you to that, okay? All right, so moving on here for the materials and requirements. So of course, this is the textbook information again, and you can click here to make sure that your computer that you're working on meets the requirements, minimum requirements to be able to run My Stat Lab as well as the My TCC Blackboard. So most people, if you're looking at this now, you should have no problems. This BioSign ID enrollment, as you work throughout this course here, there's going to be times that you're going to be prompted to verify your identity. And so one of the things I recommend that you do before you even get started here is to watch this video and to go through the whole enrollment process. And this is another way that whenever you end up having proctored exams or whatnot, I can actually verify from another system that you are who you say you are, okay? This particular folder is about netiquette, which is just the etiquette that you use when you're on a discussion board with your peers. And how you access the discussion board is through here, okay? So once you click on the discussion board area, this is what it's going to look like. What I need you to do within the first few days of this course is to actually start on these two. Introduce yourself to the class, as well as answer some of these questions here in the second part of this. I need both done. It doesn't have to be long for both, but it needs to be something, okay? And then, of course, for each of these, the Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, this is where you'll be either posting those two problems that you've worked out on your own, or the one video, or you're helping other people answer questions that they are having trouble with, as well as you're posing questions for other people to help you with. And so other than that, if we go to the quiz and exam artifacts area, whenever you take an exam or a quiz in My Stat Lab, I want your written work. And I need your written work so that when I go back and actually look at what you've done, if you've typed in something wrong, or I see that you were on the right track to the answer, but you missed a negative or something like that, I can award you some of your points back that My Stat Lab won't necessarily give you, because of course, as a computer, it either looks at everything as right or wrong, okay? This is where you need to upload that work. When you upload your work, I need you to upload it, all your work, in one single PDF document, okay? If you're having issues with, let's say, accessing a scanner or whatnot, I think most of us have phones that have cameras in it. You can download an app called Cam Scanner, and Cam Scanner will allow you to take pictures of all your pages, lump it into one PDF file, and then you can email it to yourself. And then from there, you can just download it on your desktop or whatnot, and then upload it from here. Because you'll just, let's say here, click on this, and then from here, you'll just click on browse my computer, and then you'll upload it, okay? Again, these dates won't necessarily be here by the time you get into this. These will be different, but again, all you have to do is browse your computer, click on the file, upload it, and that's it. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to some of the other resources that we have. All right, so if we go to where it says tables, resources, and notes, you'll see in here that I have some basic information here for you. Mainly these are notes. I have some information on interval notation, an explanation of how to do data classification. You'll see that as one of the first few things when you start the course. I also have some pointers on how to use your TI-84 calculator as far as doing binomial probability calculations, binomial probability cumulative, density calculations, so on and so forth. Again, I just have other information here, some other basic explanations of some concepts in this course. One important thing that may be useful is using what's called Pascal's triangle to figure out what's called the permutation and combination of, let's say, a certain number of things grouped so many at a time. And so you'll start to see that relatively soon in the course as well. And again, these are just things I've made up to try to help you out as you go along in this course here. I highly encourage you to look at this as it may help you answer some of the questions or figure out some of the concepts that you may be wrestling with throughout this course. The unit folders, I have here lecture notes that I've had, as well as this is a link to my stat lab. And of course here is a link straight to the discussion area, your quiz, artifacts for that particular unit. So if you want to, you can just come to the units folder and, basically unit by unit, you see everything that you have to do, okay? I'm going to skip some of the other units and go straight to the midterm exam info folder. So in the midterm exam info folder, this is here to give you sort of a heads up on what it is that you need to know for your midterm exam, as well as some study aids. So here again, this is for the winter semester 2017, but for your particular semester, these dates may be different. Basically saying that, hey, everyone has to take these exams in Proctor U unless you have some special accommodations that kind of go against that. I have a midterm exam review that I have worked out, and I have made solutions for as well. And so again, this is my way of saying, hey, this is how we do these problems, and this is how I want it to look when you write it to me. Okay. I know it'll look a little different because you're writing it and not me, but you can kind of, I'm trying to model what it is that I want from you. Okay. For this particular one, I selected, for number 8, I selected a different answer than what my answer key had, and I'm explaining why that is. So, but other than that, this tells you just about everything that you need, what's going to be expected of you on exam day. As far as the formula sheets, I provide that for you. So as long as you have the formula sheets that I have up, and you can just pull it up on your computer or whatnot and let your proctor verify that those are the only things that you have, whether you want to print them out or just leave them in electronic form on your computer, that's totally fine. So just make sure that you go through this and be prepared. Here's the information here at the Proctor U, how to get registered. This is on how you get set up in Proctor U if you haven't used it before. Okay. This is also a folder with basics on Proctor U. This is something that's provided by the school. This is something that I have that kind of gets you to where you need to go. So this is the most direct way for you to get what you need to get started. So I would say go here first. The final exam info is just like the midterm exam info. It's just got final exam stuff in there. Okay. It also has a review just as the midterm exam review I have here. Okay. And other than that, here's where you go to check out your grades and any tools that you may want to go into. You shouldn't need to go into these folders here, but you may. And of course, course evaluation, you may want to do that towards the end of our session together. So in short, that is what the My TCC Blackboard portion of this course is about. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and go into my stat lab so that we can see how that looks, and I can give you some points and tips on this, and then we'll be finished with this orientation and you can go ahead and get started with the course. So what I'm going to do is go here and go to this link, and I'm just going to sign in. If this is your first time using My Math Lab or My Stat Lab, then of course you want to go here to where it says student and register. If you already have a My Math Lab or My Stat Lab account, then you can just go into sign in, and then once you log in with your credentials, then you'll just go into the area where it says register for a new course. And as long as you have the course ID, that's all you really need, of course, and your access code to be able to get access to the course. If you do not have the funds for an access code, there is usually a 14-day grace period that you can have. You just select that during the registration process, and you have access to the course for up to the first 2 weeks. So I'm telling you that so there's no excuse on why anyone can't get at least started in these courses. So you want to take advantage of that if you don't quite have the funds yet, but you want to go ahead and get a jump start in the course there. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in, and then after that, we'll go into the homework and quizzes, and so you can see how that's laid out, and then look at a problem or two to see what kind of tools we have at our disposal. All right, so I'm signed in, and so now I'm going to go into the Math 1342 course here. And this will pop up. And once I'm here, then you can see how we have course home. Mainly when you go into here, the main thing you want to do is either go into homework or test, and it'll probably be homework to start off with. So in homework, you'll see, I would suggest that you go to all assignments so that you can see everything. Here's the orientation, and this is just trying to get you acclimated on how to enter in things based upon some of the things that you'll be using for this particular course. You got the video sections. These do not count towards your homework, but they are there as a convenience so that you'll say, hey, I need to see a video for section 1.1. You won't have to go to the Multimedia Library to look that up. You have it right here. All you gotta do is just click on it and click on the link after that, and it will show you the video. So you have a video for each section. And then, of course, once you get to a certain point, you have a quiz. These are the quizzes that I was talking about, where you need to be able to go in and at least attempt them at least once to be able to get credit for attending. And so when I look at that, I'm looking at have you attempted all the homework assignments and the quiz up to that point for the day that's available. Now, for the quizzes here, I know that you see it's 0 of 2 opportunities here. That will change by the time you get into there, and I'll make it an infinite number of opportunities. But again, just want to let you know that this is sort of the flow. So you have video for the section, you got sections, and you keep doing that till you get to a quiz. And so we have, instead of having chapter exams, we have quizzes and just midterm and final exam. So if we keep going here, you'll see keeps on going. And after chapter 4, we get to our midterm exam. You do only have one time to do that, but you have up to 300 minutes. It does not take 300 minutes to take the exam, but I give you that time just in case you may have some technical difficulties while getting paired up with ProctorU or whatnot. Here's the practice midterm exam I was saying that I highly recommend that you do. And I do recommend that you do it and look at the ones that I've worked out as well. So from there, you keep on going, you see there's more homework, more quizzes, more homework, more quizzes. And then you have your practice final exam and comprehensive final exam that goes over everything. One thing I do want to note about the exams, and you probably see these flags on it, is that do you notice how it's saying that you have to do all the quizzes and the practice midterm exam, at least attempt those before you're allowed to be able to take the midterm? And so the same thing for the comprehensive final exam. You have to be able, you would have to have done all the other quizzes and the practice final exam, at least attempt it, before you're able to have access to the final exam. And when you get ready to take your midterm or final exam, these are password protected, so you won't be able to go into them unless you do it through ProctorU. Because at the time when everything's ready, either the ProctorU proctor or the system will automatically put in the password for you so that you'll have access to it at that time. Okay, so just want you to be aware of that. Other than that, your grade book is where you would go to be able to find out, hey, what have I done as far as homework or quizzes are concerned. In particular for quizzes, if you want to know what you got wrong and what the correct answer is, you can go to your grade book and you'll see that it records the date, the time, how many minutes you worked on the assignment, and it allows you to go in and review. So, and these are the things that I look at whenever I do my attendance tracking. So whenever I do the attendance tracking, you know exactly what I'm looking at. Okay. And so whatever you see in your grade book is what I see in my grade book as well. It'll say the same thing. Statcrunch, this is the tool that I was saying that allows you to be able to do some of the calculations a bit easier. I've put those links inside of the Blackboard area of our course so that you could get access to those things a bit easier. But you'll see that you'll have access to Statcrunch and some of the examples that we'll do here. Chapter contents, if you want things broken down by chapter, you can come in here. As you can see, let's say for chapter 4, if you want a chapter opener, summary, so on and so forth, you can do that. What I'm going to recommend is that when you do this, if you're going to do anything, go to the Multimedia Library, because this is sort of the central hub or the kernel of this particular system. So here you'll have, let's say we want to go to chapter 3, we want to look at the addition rule, and we want to look at some videos, the textbook, and PowerPoint. So we do that, and we got access links to all 3 of those. Okay. So if you don't do the videos that's in the assignments list here, whenever you go to homework quizzes here, remember I always change that to all assignments so that you can see everything. If you don't do this, then of course Multimedia Library is the way to go. If you just want to look at quizzes and tests, you can go here, or in the homework area, you can just say, sorry, not all assignments, you can just go quizzes and tests, and you're there. And of course you see everything that you have there. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to do is I'm just going to go into a problem. So I'm just going to go to section 1.2. And let's see what we have here. I think I'm going to go to a different section because I want something that has a little bit more. Yes, let's go into chapter 2. All right, so this is a good example here. So let's say you're looking at this problem and it's asking you to do a stem and leaf plot, and you're like, I don't know how to do that. Read the textbook, still didn't get it. Here are some of the things that are at your disposal. You got Help Me Solve This. You got View an Example. Of course, you got a link to the textbook, Statcrunch, as well as Ask My Instructor. So Help Me Solve This does exactly what you think it does. It actually takes you through the problem interactively, okay? And so by doing that, and I'm not going to go through it here, but you can see it if you start to click on it, that you'll have some reading to do, and then they'll ask you to answer some questions, and you just keep on going. Whether you get the questions right or wrong, it will give you a chance to answer correctly, but if after a few tries you don't, it'll say, hey, this is the correct answer, and they'll allow you to move on. So once you're done, the main thing that I want you to see here is that once you're done, it's going to change the problem, okay? So you're not going to have the same problem if you do the Help Me Solve This, okay? Now, if you do the View an Example is sort of a static version of what you see here, okay? And so once you do that, you'll see that your problem stays the same. And so I'm mentioning this because what I've noticed a lot of students do is they'll say, okay, Help Me Solve This is great to kind of get an idea of what I'm doing, but I think I'll use View an Example so I can kind of, put this side by side and saying, well, hey, if I go through here and this says, hey, I got a 7 here, that means it must be a 5 there. And if I got a -2 here, that means it must be a -8 there. And you find yourself doing more copying than learning. And so that's dangerous. And so my point there is that you don't want to get into the trap of saying, oh, well, if I just look at View an Example, I can get through all my homework problems. I can tell whenever students do that because they score perfect on the homework, but they bomb the exams. And so the point of the homework is to help you learn and retain the information. So if you're not doing the homework in such a way to where you're sort of analyzing what you're doing and trying to learn and retain it, then you're going about it wrong. Okay. And I'm saying that to say we want to make sure that we read the textbook. We want to make sure that the resources that I'm providing you inside of Blackboard, you want to look at those as well. There's nothing wrong with using View an Example to help me solve this, but let's not abuse it. Okay. Of course, again, Statcrunch probably wouldn't need it for this particular problem, but for some problems, this may be something that we could use here. Let me see if, trying to see if it'll pop up here. I don't know if it will or not. Yeah. Yeah, so here it is. And so you'll see this is kind of what it looks like, and depending upon what you're doing, you'll kind of figure out what to do here. You'll get some getting started, get help or whatnot. Of course, these YouTube videos, this is, again, some of the links that I've put in there to try to help you out in the Blackboard side. But this is what this would look like normally whenever you start to use it. Okay. And last thing, if to help me solve this, View an Example, Statcrunch doesn't work. Of course, your textbook, all that's doing is bringing you to the section in which this problem comes from. And the difference in between the textbook here and, let's say, the Multimedia Library here is that this is only going to allow you to be able to be in section, let's say, 2.2 here. Whereas if you go to the Multimedia Library, you can skim across multiple sections. Okay. And again, if all that doesn't work, then you can always click on Ask My Instructor and email me and say, hey, I need help on this problem. When you do that, the more specific your questions are, the better and faster I can help you. I don't mind working problems out, but the thing is that I actually want you to work it out. And what I would prefer is either you post that kind of thing inside the discussion board area, or if you're not getting any responses from that, of course, you can email me and email me your work as well. So you can take a picture, preferably in a PDF form file, and send it to me. Then I can kind of comment on what you've done and give you feedback and get it back to you. Versus just me working it out and then it's like, okay, well, it's done, but you still haven't learned anything. Okay. So when you use Ask My Instructor, what it does for me is gives me a link to what you're working on so I can see exactly what your problem is. Again, if there's some way you can email me separately using my Tarrant County email and forward me your work, that would help as well. Okay. And so with that, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today to kind of get you going on in this course. Go back to the gradebook here. You can see I went in and went to section 1.2 and 2.2. You see where it says review. It says how many problems I did, how much time I spent, and the date worked. So again, when I do my checks for quizzes, this is what it's going to look like, and this is what I'm going by. Okay. All right. So with that being said, thank you so much for spending this time to check out this video. I hope this helps in getting you going in the course, and just let me know if you have any questions. Good luck to you and take care.